Libby Squire, a charming and intelligent young lady from the UK, that on January the 31st, 2019, was out enjoying the nightlife with her friends. When her evening was coming to a close, her friends put her into a cab destined for Libby's home. Unbeknown to her friends was that it would mark the last time any of them would see their friend alive again. This is the story of Libby Squire. This is Night Owl. Good day, everyone. I'm Ted, your host, and welcome back to Night Owl. Now, today we're taking off across the pond to jolly old England. But before we depart, maybe you could do me a solid and hit like and subscribe and share this video, because it really does help our channel out. You may also want to turn on your notifications so that you're kept apprised of any new content that we come out with. Now, with that out of the way, back to our story. Today, as I told you, we're going off to England, where we're going to cover the story of Libby Ann Squire, better known as Libby to her friends and family, was born on January the 1st, 1998. She was raised in a town called West Wycombe, Buckinghamshire, in England. She was a student at the University of Hull, where she studied philosophy. Then on January the 1st, 2019, a then 21-year-old Libby was out partying with her friends, enjoying life, going out to the local night spots in East Yorkshire in England. That was until about 11:20 at night. They tried to gain access into a nightclub called Welly. Once they got to the club, though, the bouncers felt that Libby had already drank more than her fair share of the good stuff, said no, she cannot come in. Her friends was okay, but Libby specifically was told, I'm sorry, you cannot come in. So her friends opted to put Libby in a cab and told the cabbie to drop her off at her place, which according to the cabbie at approximately 11:30 is exactly what he did. But the problem is, they believe that she actually never went into her house. You see, she had witnesses that claimed she was down on Beverly Road, which is about half a mile away from where she lived, approximately 10 minutes after she supposedly was dropped off. Multiple witnesses say that they saw her sitting down on the curb crying. Some did offer their assistance, but she pretty much had 3 sheets to the wind, so that made her pretty hard to understand. And she even acted a bit of aggressive towards a few of them. So they opted just to leave her be and go on their merry little way. But the problem is, they believe that's also the last time anyone seen Libby alive. Now, shortly after this, of course, Libby was reported missing by her family and friends. And upon the report coming in, the Humberside Police Department, along with Libby's family, took to the media asking people if they had any information about what happened to Libby to come forward. It was actually one of the biggest search and rescue operations that area's ever seen. They had over 100 cops that went door to door asking to find citizens of Hull if they've seen anything. They've had divers going through the river Hull and even had the storm drains checked on both Beverly and Branston drives. And of course, they also checked the local dumpsters. But the first big break actually didn't come till they checked out some CCTV footage. One such camera showed a vehicle, a silver Vauxhall Astra, cruising around the same area that Libby was last seen. And on February 6, 2019, they arrested the driver, a dude named Paul Relowich. I apologize if I mispronounced his last name. If you want, you can blast me in the comments. At any rate, he was a 24-year-old Polish immigrant from Warsaw, Poland. I repeat myself. I apologize if I mispronounced that. Once again, you can feel free to blast me in the comments. He moved to the UK in 2015, where he gained employment as a butcher at a meat processing plant in Milton, which was in North Yorkshire. At the time of his arrest, he was actually married with a couple of kids. Now, make no mistake, this dude was one sick puppy. On February the 10th, he was charged with a string of burglaries, as well as, shall we say, more intimate crimes that he committed from 2017 all the way up to the time when he was arrested. None of these crimes were actually connected to Libby, but they were still pretty gross. Things like, pleasure himself in public, doing the whole peeping Tom thing on unexpected women, breaking into people's homes to steal adult toys from women's drawers, as well as, of course, any cash that happened to be lying around. In fact, in January 2019, a mere 3 weeks before Libby's disappearance, he was actually pleasured himself in front of 2 different groups of women, one of which he actually followed home, and once he got there, how can I put this? He left some belated Christmas cheer on the front door. Like I said, gross. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, why the bloody hell was this sick freak not charged with his crimes? Well, you see, at the time that he committed these really, really, really gross atrocities, he had no criminal record to speak of. So even though he left behind a lot, and I mean a lot, of DNA evidence, there's nothing to match it to. He actually wasn't charged with any of these crimes until he was picked up for Libby's disappearance. At any rate, he was convicted of these 9 separate crimes, which once again had nothing to do with Libby. But as I said, he was convicted of them, and he got 8.5 years for those crimes. On March 20th, 2019, any hope that the Squire family had of ever seeing their daughter alive again came crashing down when her body was found by a fisherman in the Humboldt estuary. And on October the 24th, 2019, while the little buttercup was still in prison, Powell was charged with essaying and ending the life of Libby Squire. His trial actually finally started on January the 12th, 2021. The Crown is what the Americans would call a district attorney. They're the ones that speaks on behalf of the government. Anyway, the Crown asserted that the dude was out trolling around the hall area because he was, quote, unquote, looking for an opportunity. And he found such opportunity in Libby. He drove up, saw her just sitting on the side of the road, intoxicated, maybe even suffering from a bit of hypothermia. So either by invitation or perhaps by force, he got her into his vehicle, and he had every intention of S.A.ing her that night. Furthermore, they believe that he drove Libby to Oak Road Plainfield, where he committed his crimes against her and ended the life of the sweet, innocent girl. But Libby, she did not go without a fight. She actually left a series of scratches on his face when she defended herself. After he committed his disgusting deeds against this poor girl, he just threw her body into the River Hall. The Crown also pointed out that his past offenses during the 18 months that was leading up to Libby, and he said that it was like a man that had absolutely uncontrollable urges. Yeah, no kidding. But to call this piece of shit a man is kind of a stretch. Now, anyway, he, of course, did have a defense. What did he say in his defense? He said, Your Honor, I was just being a good Samaritan. You see, I saw this young, poor, innocent girl who obviously had 3 sheets to the wind. And well, I just stopped to help her. And he then took her to Oak Road Plainfield, where they proceeded to make out and have consensual intercourse. You know, as all good Samaritans do. Oh, the scratches? Oh, he got those when she wanted to kiss him again, and he said no. He then threw Libby out of his car and just went on his good Samaritan way. Dude, you cannot be full of more BS if you're an actual cow. Anyway, the defense also presented some of Libby's own medical records to the court, saying that she had suffered from depression. Trying to paint a picture of the possibility that Libby could have come to an end at her own hands. In the end, none of that crap worked. On February the 11th, the jury came back with a verdict when it comes to him ending Libby's life. For that crime by itself, he got life without the chance of parole for 27 years. Now, he was also convicted of SAing Libby, and for that, he got 18 years. And both those sentences was to run concurrently. I gotta say, though, I'm not a big fan of the sentences running concurrently. For those of you that don't know, when they run concurrent like that, that means the lesser of the sentence gets eaten up by the greater one. To me, that's almost like you're not being punished for the one offense at all. I prefer to have them both run like one after the other. That way, true justice would be covered on all grounds. Anyway, after the trial, the Attorney General's office was asked to double-check the sentence under the unduly lenient sentence scheme, which is something they have in the UK, which I think is kind of neat. You see, if you think the sentence that was handed out to a convict was too late, then you have 28 days to file paperwork with the Attorney General's office to have them look into it. And if they agree, they change the sentence. But in this case, the sentence would stayed as it was. After Libby's passing, her mother, Libby Squire, started a campaign to have laws changed to increase the sentence and punishment of people that commit lesser indecent offenses, such as pleasuring yourself, peeping Tom, stuff like that, and to also have mandatory therapy for these guys, hoping that you more or less nip it in the bud before it went beyond that and got into something more, or like what happened to Libby. She even had a meeting with Boris Johnson, who was at the time the Prime Minister, to discuss it. Oh yeah, another thing about Lisa, she was actually planning on having a face-to-face with the sick freak that took away her daughter Libby. And it was all set. And then, surprise, surprise, the dude chickened out, as all cowards do. He just, I guess, did not decide that he could actually look into the eyes of the woman who he caused so much pain to. Libby Squire, just your average 21-year-old college student who wanted nothing better than to enjoy a night out partying with her friends. That was until she met a fiend that stripped away all her dreams and replaced them with a final nightmare in Yorkshire. Well, I think that's where we'll end it for the day. But tell me what you think. Do you think justice was served? Or do you think he should be in prison for the rest of his life without the chance of parole? Whatever your opinion is, every opinion is valid. At any rate, if you haven't already, don't forget to hit like and subscribe and to share this video because it really does help our channel out. And you may want to turn on your notifications as well so you'll be kept apprised of any new content that we come out with. Thank you for coming by. And remember, be you good or be you wicked, everyone deserves justice. Good night.